Hey everybody, this is Sharon Koenig of FearlessPursuits.com, and you're watching another episode of Fearless Empower Tube. Let me ask you a question. Do you want to improve the quality of your relationships? So we're talking about any relationship here. It could be a romantic relationship. You want to improve the quality of your romantic relationship. Maybe you're a married person or you're deeply involved with someone. Then you may be interested in improving the quality of that relationship. What if you're a parent, a mother or father? Would you want to improve the quality of the relationship with your children? What about your friends? Everyone has friends, right? Or at least I hope you do, because you need a good support system. Don't you want to improve the quality of your friendships? Well, in today's video, I'm going to share with you my favorite 2 cues, as well as one of my most favorite tips that I've given out to my clients that have really helped a lot of people. So let's get started. So you know how sometimes we argue with people, or we find out that people are very emotionally upset about something, maybe something that we've said, and we're into this really deep conversation with them, and you can tell that they're just spiraling out of control one way or another. Maybe they're crying, or maybe they're just yelling. Sometimes we have personality traits in us where we are a little bit more of a crier or a little bit more of a yeller. But then there are scenarios where your emotions are just so out of control that you just react a certain way. And it has nothing to do with your personality trait. So let me share with you some cues that you can use to help in a situation with maybe a romantic relationship, or even with your children, for example. When you're in this thick of a conversation here, what you want to do is you want to watch for these cues. So when you are seeing that this is a very hot conversation and somebody is yelling, right? What you want to do is you want to identify immediately that this person is seeking significance from you, right? What that means is if you have a child or a teenager who is yelling, they may have some hormone issues, certainly. There's no doubt about that if we're dealing with some teenagers. But make no mistake about it, more than likely they feel as if you're not listening to them. They don't feel significant. They don't feel important. They don't feel empowered. So when someone is yelling, it typically means that one of their human needs is not being met at that time. And they are spiraling out of control and they are yelling. So that is a cue for you to start listening. So what you need to do in this situation is to acknowledge that person, basically in a form of feedback. So what you want to do is you want to repeat to them, "This is what I hear you saying," and then you repeat it. So try to memorize that statement. "This is what I hear you saying," and then repeat what they just said to you. So sometimes with children, young children in particular, it's really important for you to kneel down to their level so that you can be face to face with them. This is very important. So one of the things that is also important in this situation is touch. So oftentimes you can touch them on the shoulder, holding them on the shoulder, and face to face with them. So here you are touching them on the shoulder and you say, "Let me get this straight. This is what I hear you saying," and then repeat it. So you have this tactile experience with them, and this is a form of NLP. And what that means is that they immediately snap out of it and they pay attention to you because you have touched them and you are acknowledging them, right? So sometimes people point the finger and they're yelling, "You, you, 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 you." So you have to be really careful to understand that more than likely it is not about you. So just try to pretend like you didn't hear the word "you," and then just continue with what the suggested cue is here. So we have to be careful not to allow that person to push our buttons. So they're trying to get a rise out of you. So this is their way of getting significance, of feeling important from you. So you have to be careful to not react in a negative way and say to yourself, I am going to react differently. I am going to acknowledge this person and I am going to give them what they need from me. So we talked about the other personality trait where someone is crying. So sometimes people are just so upset that they often cry in the middle of a hot conversation, an argument or something, right? We could see a little kid crying. We can see a teenager crying. We could see your spouse crying or your friend, right? They're upset. And what they need from you is love. So in the first scenario, we were talking about another human need with significance. They need to feel important. They need to feel noticed and they need attention. Well, in this scenario where they're crying, they need to feel love. And again, what you want to do is you want to touch them. And in this case, it's usually a hug. It's something so simple, but yet so powerful. So again, with a child, you're going to get down on your knees and you're going to get face to face with them. And you're going to hug them and let them cry for a minute. And you can just listen to them and acknowledge. Again, acknowledgement is so important here. And I've talked about this over on the blog and in other videos. We need to acknowledge people, but sometimes we feel like acknowledging means saying sorry, like you did something wrong. So we want to be careful that we're not in a bad feeling place when we are helping someone else. Because remember, what we're doing here in a relationship is we're improving the quality of this relationship, and it's not always about us. Sometimes it's about the other person. Understand that this person is upset. So what we want to do is we want to give them what they need. We all have human needs. These are very basic to our core, and it's love in this case if they're crying. Same thing with a teenager. The teenager is upset. Sure, there's hormones, and hormones aside, they still have human needs. So any of their human needs that they're feeling, either it's significance or attention, it's just blown up because of hormones. It doesn't mean it's not there. It's just blown up. You still have a need to give to them, right? You are responsible when you are in a relationship to do your part. And we talked about a 50-50 responsibility, and that is not the case ever. It is 100% of the time. When someone is upset and they're crying and they need something from you, you have to do your part, right? Your part is 100%. So you give to yourself and you don't think that anything has anything to do with you in this case. So when we're talking about a spouse and you're in this heat of an argument and you were upset just a second ago, but they're crying. So you can decide in that moment that you're going to give of yourself because you see now you have the knowledge that this is a cue. Oh, they're crying. They need love. So you just put your feelings aside for the moment because this is who we are as humans. We give. Right? We're not walking around thinking, how can I get? How can I get? How can I get? It's all about me. It's all about me. So when you're in a relationship, you give. So when that person is crying and you walk up to them and you hug them. So touch is so important with this because remember what it's going to do. It's going to shake them out of it. So otherwise they'll just spiral. And sometimes you'll see someone who goes from crying to yelling, right? So now you realize that you have two cues, love and significance, that are going to really help you in this hot conversation, right? So now I told you that I was going to share with you one of my favorite tips that help people improve the quality of their relationship. And that tip is monthly check-ins. That is so important. If you can take the time to really touch base with whomever it is that you're having a relationship with. And at the end of the day, we have many relationships, right? We are mothers, we are fathers, we are friends, we are spouses. So that means that each and every person, you need to have a date with them, a separate one-on-one date where once a month you just sit there casually, maybe a picnic, maybe over a cocktail, maybe a dinner. You're away from home. It could be in a car. As long as it's away from home, it's away from the environment that you normally are in, and you say to them, so what could I do to be a better wife? And, it really throws people off if they're not prepared for that, if they're not ready for this agreement that you're going to have a monthly check-in. So it's a good idea, especially in a marriage or a relationship that is deeply committed, that you say, all right, honey, let's do this monthly check-in. We'll go out and we'll go for a walk and we're going to have a monthly check-in. So what could I do to make our relationship better? And sometimes people are afraid to say what's on their mind. So maybe it's you who has to start the conversation. But this is so powerful. It can really, really dramatically change a relationship. And often with children and teenagers, it's really just they feel like you're not listening, even though you think you are. Remember, the reality is just perception here. So it's important for us to always think about what the other person needs, because their ideas of what they need are very different than what we need. And hopefully the tables will turn and it'll be your turn to say what's on your mind. Do this monthly and it will improve the quality of your relationships. So I hope this video was really helpful for you, and if it was, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so that you can get more empowering and inspirational videos just like this. So that's all I have for you today. This is Sharon Koenig and I am out.